It has incredible characters. It has amazing pacing. It is exquisitely modern. Yes, today we're talking about the series that reignited my deep love for fantasy literature, got me out of a reading slump, and got me back into fantasy in a major way. Let's jump into why I love the First Law Trilogy and my 7 best reasons why you should start reading it, like now. Like, go read now. Don't get off YouTube, go read the books now. Okay, so my first reason actually has everything to do with the ending. The ending to this series is so subversive and yet so amazing that you can literally feel the genre like flip on its head. And it feels pretty good. It's Grimdark-y? So while the First Law Trilogy is certainly on the darker side of things, I wouldn't be put off by the label of Grimdark. So whether or not characters are reflecting on their own grim circumstances, the unforgiving and hopeless world that they inhabit, fighting for their life, or really just trying to climb a set of stairs, we're never far away from a smug quip that brings just enough brightness to an otherwise very dark situation. There is an awesome mystery involving a big bank that is kind of interwoven expertly throughout this story and really just keeps you glued to the page. It was one of the main reasons why I just devoured this entire series. So I promise you there are many 2 a.m. nights in your future. Another reason why I absolutely adore this series is because of the fast prose. No one writes a faster paced book than Joe Abercrombie. Like, no one. Maybe Scott Lynch, but I think he's kind of chilling right now. Each of these books reads very quickly and very smoothly, so you finish them effortlessly, like almost as soon as you pick them up, open a page, before you know it, you're at the final chapter and it's on to the next one. Like literally, I was rereading a couple sections from the first book for this review. I ended up just reading the entire book. Like, come on, Joe, I've got videos to make. Glocka. I'm sure you've heard of Glocka before you've come anywhere near this series, but Glocka is honestly one of the best fantasy characters ever written. He's easily the best fantasy character in modern fantasy. Glocka is like the tortured soul of the 21st century that's fallen from grace and really has to go on with this impossible task of living and also climbing stairs and getting people to confess and kind of solving that mystery involving that threatening and powerful bank. Logan Nine Fingers, or the Bloody Nine. So everyone's probably very familiar with the sword swinger meat hawk from the plains trope. Logan is a clever take on this trope. He's a pensive barbarian warrior, so you get these clever observations, but he also lives up to fulfilling the bloodlust that we all come to this genre for. So you get some phenomenal fight scenes involving Logan and the Bloody Nine. Speaking of fight scenes, that's another thing that Joe Abercrombie does so well in this series. Some fights in books, they just drag on, they're a little bit too indulgent. Other fights in books, they're like too short, there's no real risk to anyone, it's almost over before it even starts. Abercrombie's fight scenes are an incredible balance of description and speed. You know what's happening, you know it doesn't feel good for someone, and yet you don't get stuck in the prose. The other great thing is that Joe is still alive and he's still writing. Say one thing for Joe Abercrombie, say he can complete a fantasy series. There's a total, I think, of about 6 other books that he's cranked out within this universe. So there's the First Law Trilogy, then there's 3 standalones, and then another trilogy that he's just recently completed. So let me know what you thought of the First Law Trilogy, and let me know if you're bumping them up in your TBR in the comments below.